Zambia has one of the most diverse wildlife populations in the world, thanks to the wide variety of habitats. Zambia's protected areas cover over 200,000 square kilometers, or 30% of the country's total landmass, in the form of 19 national parks and 36 game management areas. The game management areas, or GMAs, are safari hunting concessions that were opened up in several communal tribal lands in the 1970s. This action provided a revenue stream as well as a supply of meat for the local communities. The establishment of GMAs created buffer zones between the various national parks and rural communities. GMAs are leased to Zambian registered safari hunting operators for 10 years at a time. These operators are responsible for both managing the GMAs and protecting the interests of the resident communities.
I've been hunting in the Lunga-Luswishi GMA, game management area, for 25 years now. Our concession is situated in western Zambia on the northeast of the Kafue National Park, and it's the largest GMA in Zambia, with over 1 million acres of beautiful Myombo woodland interspersed with large dambos and 2 big river ecosystems, the Kafue and the Lunga, forming natural boundaries to the concession. The area is inaccessible until the end of March, once we can cross the dambos and open up all the roads. Logistically, luckily we are only about a 6-hour drive from Lusaka. In the last 25 years since I've been hunting in the Lunga-Luswishi GMA, we have had 2 hunting closures in Zambia, one in the early 2000s and one more recently in 2012 to 2016. These were essentially due to problems stemming from irregular tender procedures. During both these closures, we continued some reduced anti-poaching, and still we witnessed significant losses in game numbers. The coronavirus outbreak will no doubt result in more problems for Zambia's wildlife and natural resources, which are already under great strain. The economic worldwide uncertainty means our clients' financial situations have also radically changed and tourism dollars have dried up. This coupled with practical questions that remain to be answered. When will international travel reopen? When will people feel safe to fly? Will governments impose quarantine restrictions upon arrival? Will travel insurance be available? Is a vaccine or cure on the way or years off? The knock-on effects of financial losses to the game department and communities from direct payment and concession fees and lack of employment will be massive. Our company usually employs over 20 staff a year from the local community. These are in the form of trackers, cooks, skinners, waiters, drivers, general camp helpers, road crew, anti-poaching crew, etc. This year that number will be vastly reduced. We will continue to employ a core crew of permanent camp staff that have been with us for many years to assist them to financially survive the year. However, there are no funds to employ the additional seasonal staff that benefit from tourism dollars. The communities that derive their sole income from safari hunting will not be able to employ the necessary number of village scouts either, so there'll be layoffs there too. There is nobody in these communities that will not be negatively affected by COVID-19. It seems ironic that the coronavirus may never come near these remote locations that look to suffer so dramatically from it. We already sit with unemployment, poverty and hunger at high levels, and now within coronavirus, this will increase the situation dramatically. This directly results in increased theft of wildlife, i.e. poaching. Already we have witnessed a steep uptake in poaching activity. Government provides minimal resources for anti-poaching. Outfitters fund, organize and carry out the bulk of these activities in the GMAs, with their revenues earned from safari hunting. Without income, the outfitters will be unable to maintain the same level of activities as before. Community support projects will also suffer, since the portion of revenue allocated from concession fees will no longer be available for community development projects. The outfitters who provide the vital anti-poaching services and funding are now faced with either going bust in the near future due to the economic downturn effect on the industry, or just throwing in the towel due to the bleak future prospects of safari hunting. Even the most prime hunting blocks and dedicated outfitters will rapidly lose their economic value due to restricted hunting this year, and probably the next couple of years. If these GMAs are not occupied and protected by hunting companies, the wildlife will rapidly deplete, in some cases entirely. Remember that these hunting blocks are buffer zones to the national parks. Therefore, these parks become more vulnerable to poaching, which in turn diminishes their economic value. Thus, the entire wildlife tourism industry will suffer the consequences from the lack of hunting revenue. Unoccupied hunting blocks are fair game for general plunder of natural resources, particularly timber, resulting in severe deforestation, which contributes negatively on climate change. Coronavirus has the potential to be the final blow to these magnificent and irreplaceable wildlife areas. Ultimately, the rural people in the GMA communities are the biggest losers. They will revert to levels of poverty that existed before viable hunting blocks. Poaching becomes the only option left to them.